आज के शो के लिए अक्सर हर शो के लिए एक्साइटेड होता हूँ। लेकिन अभी जो खबर आई थी कि कितने डेढ़ डेढ़ घंटे पहले 2 घंटे पहले कि मोहम्मद सिराज, मोहम्मद शामी और शार्दुल ठाकुर को बीसीसीआई ने चुना है ऑस्ट्रेलिया जाने के लिए। अभी खबर नहीं है कि इन तीनों में से हु इज एक्चुअली गोइंग टू बी ऑफिशियली बी जसप्रीत बुमराह रिप्लेसमेंट एंड हु इज गोइंग टू बी इनटू द मेन स्क्वाड, क्योंकि बीसीसीआई ने ये भी बताया है कि जो रिजर्व प्लेयर्स हैं यानी कि श्रेयस अय्यर, रवि बिश्नोई और दीपक चाहर, वो फिलहाल ऑस्ट्रेलिया नहीं जाएंगे। रही बात चाहर की, तो ही हैज बीन इंजर्ड अनफॉर्चुनेटली, ही हैज गॉट अ रिकरेंस ऑफ अ बैक निगल, तो वो तो ऑस्ट्रेलिया नहीं जाएंगे। उनके बदले मोहम्मद सिराज गए और फिर शार्दुल ठाकुर। अब शार्दुल ठाकुर दोस्तों और मोहम्मद सिराज, दीज टू वर नॉट एनीवेयर इन द रेकनिंग बिफोर दिस सीरीज, यानी कि वो वर्ल्ड कप रिजर्व में नहीं थे। बट क्योंकि जसप्रीत बुमराह की इंजरी के बाद बहुत सारी जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं वो सामने आ चुकी है कि हु कैन बी अ केपेबल रिप्लेसमेंट। मोहम्मद शमी वाज ऑफ कोर्स in the squad before, but he got COVID. Now since he got COVID, there's been a lot of debate about his fitness, and but now officially वो जा रहे हैं ऑस्ट्रेलिया शार्दुल ठाकुर के साथ और मोहम्मद सिराज के साथ। और क्यों शार्दुल ठाकुर और मोहम्मद सिराज को चुना गया, मेरा मानना है, और आज मैं अपने गेस्ट से भी यही बात करूंगा, इट्स बिकॉज ऑफ देयर परफॉर्मेंसेज रिस्पेक्टिवली इन द 2-1 ओडीआई सीरीज विन ओवर साउथ अफ्रीका, जो कल इंडिया ने सीरीज जीती। तो मेरे साथ आज इस शो पे जुड़ने वाले हैं पहली बार ऋत्विक मलिक, समवन हु आई हैड द प्लेजर ऑफ मीटिंग इन 2019। हम दोनों इंग्लैंड में थे 2019 वनडे वर्ल्ड कप के बीच, and because I know how much of a passionate cricket fan he is, I'm going to bring him onto the show. So Ritwik, if you can hear me, just send me a request and I will bring you on to the show. जी हाँ, I've got the request. Let's get Ritwik onto the show right now. पहली बार ग्लांस पे मेरे शो पे क्रिकेट एंथुसियास्ट ऋत्विक मलिक। मोहम्मद फन कह रहे हैं हाउ आर यू, मैं बिल्कुल ठीक हूँ। हे देयर ही इज।
How are you?
I am doing very well, my friend. It's been a long time since we've seen face to face.
Absolutely, and I'm going to pan the camera a little bit,
दिखाओ
just a
यार,
little
दिखाओ।
bit. There's something you can see here. Can you see
अरे
that?
क्या बात है, that's when we met, yeah, क्या बात है।
And yeah, it's the same time. It's from Oval. It adores a centerpiece in my drawing room. So
Fantastic,
yeah, so
man.
that's the last time. How are things?
Fantastic. Good, man. Good, good, good. Always talking cricket, always getting interesting people on the show. And you're someone who I've thought about for a while. So I'm glad it worked out. We made our schedules match. और स्वागत है आपका शो पे।
अरे एब्सोल्यूट बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है कि एक्चुअली जैसे मतलब मैं देख रहा था कि कंटेंट और आपने पहले जिस टाइप के लोगों को लाए वो मुझे तो सच अगर पूछो तो आई फील अ लिटिल नर्वस राइट नाउ यार
Don't be.
बिकॉज इट्स बीन ऑलमोस्ट 6 years since I've shared an opinion like this, right? I've obviously gone for Twitter rants and done a little bit of social media. But for those who don't know me, I used to kind of be a sports journalist once upon a
Yes,
time.
yes, yes, बिल्कुल।
I was, a founding member नहीं बोलूँगा, founding contributor of Sportskeeda. पौरुष ने जब 2012-13 में he started it, I was one of the early contributors. We used to do free writing then and moved on to a career there, paid writing. I became a featured writer there. Did a small gig with Sport 360. It's a Dubai-based sports
course.
newspaper.
Of course.
So all of that was a phase. I was so passionate about cricket per se. But फिर obviously life happened here and there, थोड़ा deviations हुए. But now I'm back and I'm so happy that you've got me.
I'm glad to hear, and it's for all the reasons that Ritwik you just outlined that I've got you back, as well as for the odd Twitter rant. मैं सच कहूँगा because कभी-कभी यार हमें इजहार करने का मौका मिलता है, and like you said, it's been almost 5-6 years since you've been in this space. So I think social media does give us that opportunity, and it's because we also met through social media, and now here we are
Yeah.
on a show. तो I'm gonna get right into it. इससे पहले कि हम कल की सीरीज जीत के बारे में बात करें, the news is that yes, Mohammad Shami is there. I think that's expected. But मोहम्मद सिराज और शार्दुल ठाकुर को ऐड किया गया, और ये भी खबर आई है ऋत्विक के original reserve members, barring Shami, that is Bishnoi, Shreyas Iyer, and Chahar are not going. Chahar because he's injured. But the fact that Bishnoi and Shreyas पे थोड़ा ब्रेक लगा दिया कि तुम लोग अभी मत जाओ, and out of the blue, almost literally India blue, we've seen Siraj and Shardul Thakur come. Are you surprised hearing this? Because I think they're there because of the way they bowl in these three ODIs.
No, I agree with you because if you purely look at the stats, you might say negligible impact, not too many wickets, we might get into that conversation because आप देखेंगे क्या highest wicket taker हमारा क्या था कुलदीप यादव थे 6 wickets, right? But I think it's largely to do with the kind of control that both of them showed in this series. And Shardul, if you remember, lately has been also delivering with the bat last में आके runs बनाना तो कहीं ना कहीं मुझे लगता है वो फैक्टर है इसमें
बिल्कुल।
जो हम राइट ऑफ नहीं कर सकते सो इट्स वेरी गुड दैट दे गॉट अ चांस टू प्ले इन दिस सीरीज इवन दो इट्स एन ओडीआई सीरीज बट एटलीस्ट वाइट बॉल में कैसे वो लोग रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहे हैं लोगों को दिख रहा है जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल लाइक गुड दैट यू रेज द पॉइंट अबाउट सिराज अब बहुत लोग कहते हैं यार आईपीएल में वो पिटता था ये है वो है बट अगर आप देखोगे वेदर बी इट दी द वेस्ट इंडीज वनडे सीरीज और इवन लेटर ऑन ऑल्सो
Yep.
the recent one day series, his death bowling kind of is improving, right? Now one might make the argument कि भाई ये ODI है और हम T20 के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, but structurally the format is still the same. You have to ensure that you don't leak runs in the middle, and you have to ensure that you're absolutely tight at the death. And I think the fundamental is there. But it's funny that I wouldn't really want to be Rohit Sharma and Rahul Dravid right now. Like with all the options, I wouldn't want to be them right now.
But again, just picking up on that and keeping with the theme of our show, is India's bench strength in check? Absolutely. I think somehow because this team is often seen as bilateral bullies, and then when a tournament rolls up, especially the Asia Cup, which I think was a major disappointment, people start to say, "Again, up kahan hai hamare bench strength?" Because all of a sudden, certain bowlers who've been doing very well, they're having a couple off matches. The team is bleeding runs, so then focus shifted on that bench strength. But usi bench strength ko dekhe, it's because India was able to, and this was a somewhat of a second string side. The fact that this second string side was able to beat South Africa's full side, and a day later, or less than a day later, two of the performers from that match have now joined India's T20 squad. This, Ritwik, underlines that the bench strength is pretty much in good health, and I don't think we have a lot to worry about in that regard. Your thoughts on that?
I kind of mirror your thoughts, Jamie, because I don't think bench strength was ever the problem. I think the problem was that the bench strength did not have enough time. You just fly them in and you just plug them into one match and they don't deliver and you say, oh, they are poor. I don't think वो सही तरीका है प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने का अगर आप देखोगे आई थिंक ऑफ हैंड आई डोंट हैव दैट नंबर बट इंडिया हैज हैड द मोस्ट नंबर ऑफ इंटरनेशनल डेब्यूटेंट्स over the last say 1.5 year period if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
And that's only because we have a bench strength, right? अगर नहीं होता तो हम थोड़ी इतने लोगों को ऐसे हम डाल सकते थे मतलब ऐसे situations भी हुआ है पैरेलली टीम्स जाके खेल रही है आज आप बिलीव करो एक हमारी पूरी स्क्वाड ऑस्ट्रेलिया में बैठी हुई है और हम एक सीरीज भी खेल रहे हैं मतलब आई स्टार्टेड फॉलोइंग द स्पोर्ट इन द मिड 2000s दैट्स आल्सो द टाइम यू स्टार्टेड कवरिंग राइट आप कभी सोच सकते हो कि एक जगह एशिया कप चल रही है श्रीलंका में और दूसरी जगह एक इंडिया का बी टीम खेल रही है दैट्स so I don't think this conversation about bench strength should even come up.
Yeah.
I think bench strength is good, and we should keep giving them chances. Arshdeep has been a good revelation, right?
Absolutely.
He was also bench strength. You look at say the early 2020s as well. Natarajan came up, right?
Yeah.
That's also an example of bench strength, right? So we've had enough examples of bench strength kind of coming in. So I don't think it's a problem at all.
I'm on the same page, and I think Ritik, we're headed to at that stage where it's going to become increasingly common for a team to field our country to field two different teams across different formats. Ek time pe, yes, you're right. Mid 2000s, it was unthinkable, but then last year, because of COVID and all this stuff, we had Shikhar Dhawan leading an Indian white ball team in Sri Lanka, and then we had Virat Kohli leading a test team. So, and it was pretty successful, barring the fact that I think दूसरे T20 में हमारे कुछ 8 players कुछ COVID case में बाहर हो गए, and then we lost that series. But it's not that far away जब हम एक दिन पे multiple format देख पाएंगे. Before going forward, let's take some questions from the viewers here. रजत शिंदे कह रहे हैं 4 विकेट लिए थे हाँ बिल्कुल कुलदीप ने लिया बॉलिंग की अभी प्रॉब्लम है हाँ भाई मोहम्मद फरहान प्रॉब्लम है बट when a problem is that Jasprit Bumrah is injured, you really cannot do anything about that. When Chahar gets out, it's not you cannot do anything. रजत कह रहे हैं कल कुलदीप ने कमाल की गेंद डाली बिल्कुल आप तो वर्ल्ड कप का इंतजार है बिल्कुल. If you have any questions, क्या शिखर धवन कम बैक कर पाएंगे? अगर आप T20 के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, I would say no. I'm guessing you also would be on the same
Yeah.
page because he's 37. I think he has a place to play in the ODI format, but we'll come to there. Here on our screens, doston, we have Kuldeep Yadav and Mohammad Siraj. Rightly, Ritwik, you said that perhaps we do jump the gun in comparing a one day to a T20. They're not too dissimilar in that आपके bowler का role एक ही है. And I think the fact that the death bowling has been problematic for a couple months at least, especially in the Asia Cup and then against these two series, Mohammad Siraj rocks up and has three good matches at the death. To my mind, those him ticking those boxes is why he's in there right now.
Yeah, and if you look at it, he's somebody who's always like steaming in, right? Just at a superficial level, right? He's always at you.
बिल्कुल.
He's quite good on the outfield as well. It doesn't come to my mind any instance where he's fumbled really badly on the outfield either. Somewhere, I think Shami would also be a little difficult to hide on the Australian outfields. That's why
Yeah.
very intrinsically, I kind of tend towards somebody like Siraj. थोड़ा जिप्पी है, आ जाएगा, स्किडी स्किडी करके आएगा वो. Fielding is good, and I look forward. I think it's not a bad call at all sending Siraj there. My heart says that Siraj will get the nod ahead of Shardul and Shami when it comes
Yeah.
to playing 11. That's what my heart says.
I I think I have to agree. I said this many times और जो viewers इस channel पे जुड़ चुके हैं उनके मालूम होगा. I don't see either Shami or Siraj Ritwik as natural T20 bowlers. This is not a slight against their skill. I think they're fantastic bowlers. But when you look at a Shami who in a 9-year career has played 80 something one days, 60 something test matches, and only 19 T20s, has not played at this level for a year. You sort of get the impression that selectors उन्हें एक frontline T20 bowler नहीं मानते हैं. But when you have top bowlers, either going off form or getting injured, you do need somebody who's got a lot of experience. और उस लिहाज से I'm okay with Muhammad Shami going there, but he's not played at this level for a year. Even this year's IPL, as good as he was, Ritvik, you will know that death में he hardly bowl more than 3-4 overs. तो जब एक bowler को Indian selectors chance नहीं दे रहे, जब उनकी IPL franchise is not using him at the death regularly, there are doubts. And I think, and I'm on the same page, I see Siraj going in. Yes, he's younger. Yes, he's better in the field, but also because he has match practice. Shami should have got it. Unfortunately, उन्हें COVID हो गया. But it's pure match practice which has got him into the squad.
Absolutely, and you speak about the death bowling during IPL, especially of Shami. I think of the stat that comes to my mind. He's averaging around somewhere around 10 runs and over during the death, which I don't think is a very impressive number to have. And
Yeah, yeah.
match practice I think kills all the arguments here. क्या होता है ना usually, Jamie, if you allow me, is that हम थोड़ा सा as fans also हम थोड़े बहुत कुछ इंस्टेंसेस से कैरिड अवे हो जाते हैं. जैसे वो शमी ने सुपर ओवर में कमाल कर दिया IPL T20 में. अब हमने इतना ज्यादा एक्सट्रापोलेट कर दिया उसको कि हम भाई मतलब शमी ने जिता दिया जीटी को पूरा टाइटल वो सुपर ओवर डाल के. तो ये जो हमारा एक क्या बोलते हैं, हेलो बायस बोलते हैं इसको, हम लोग एक हेलो बना देते हैं कुछ
सही बात है.
इंस्टेंसेस के ऊपर. वो भी गलत है थोड़ा सा. मेरे हिसाब से ऑब्जेक्टिव रहनी चाहिए.
Yeah, yeah.
बट या सो
And I think let's also talk a bit about Shardul Thakur. मैं सच कहूँ तो I was kind of surprised that he was not in the reserves. Again, I mean he's been the butt of jokes, but फिर भी यार मेरे हिसाब से he's a utility player. His T20 record is actually pretty good, and like you said, the guy can bat. Earlier this year, when the team went to South Africa, he got runs. I think he got two fifties or a 50 and a 40. फिर वो जहां भी जाते, he's doing things. So I'm actually glad that he's there because आपको थोड़े वो, I don't want to say bits and pieces because that has different connotations. But आपको वो utility player चाहिए, and whenever he comes in, हाँ थोड़े run देते हैं, but he's a wicket taker. He's safe in the field more or less, and the fact that he bats, this is something that you need on those bigger grounds in Australia. तो हाँ, जैसे कि तुमने कहा था, he's probably थोड़ा behind Siraj in the pecking order. But मुझे पूरा यकीन है कि जिस दिन इनको मौका देगी टीम, he's gonna do something or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was laughing when you said about Shardul because you can't keep the Lord out, right? Lord will find his way, and he finds it every time, right? Uh, I think he is or can potentially be an X factor to this edition, because see, nobody's kind of giving him a straightaway chance. Nobody gave him a straightaway chance. When he was in the standbys during the Test series in Australia, even when he traveled to England for that matter. But I judge it not purely on T20 ODI or the format. I just judge it on the impact he created at that point of time when he was brought into play, right? Every time in England, when India was in that 2-1 lead position, every time he was brought in, he created that impact. He broke a partnership. He came and batted the opposition out of the game, right? I think this this competitiveness is kind of part of his nature, right? And it's no wonder that his teammates kind of call him beefy, because it's there. He goes there and he's constantly punching you, and he's punching above weight, and just when you start feeling okay, complacent that, oh, it's Shardul, he smashes you, and before you know it, he scored a 12 ball 30 or a 15 ball 30, right? I think that's something that's going to be very interesting. Hardik might have off days. Hardik might pull an eagle and sit out. You need someone who's going to, like, run in and give you 2-3 overs of seam up and also bat. So I think not a bad idea to have him there.
Yeah. And I think it's just that the batting, in case Hardik, who frankly is prone to the odd, mysterious niggle, you need someone who can just come in and, like you said, and we've seen him get 15 ball 30, 12 ball 27. आपको बहुत जरूरत है ऐसे players की, इसलिए जो हमारे screen पे हैं शार्दुल, I would see him again, not a starter, but if the day comes when he gets called up, I think he can do something. A couple more questions here. मोहम्मद फरहान पूछ रहे हैं वर्ल्ड कप में कौन सा प्लेयर रिकॉर्ड बना सकता है, क्योंकि हम इंडियन फैंस हैं, एंड यू आस्किंग मी, आई एम गोना से probably सूर्य कुमार, maybe not a record, but I think he's going to have a bumper first ICC event. Ritwik, if there's one player from this squad you think who could perhaps maybe not break records but have a big impact, वो कौन होगा?
If you ask me, I think Virat Kohli is going to smash it this time.
क्या बात
I
है?
think I think what he's done in 2014-16, I have a strong feeling we are up for an encore, because everything that's happened before this, right? Him leaving captaincy, all the drama around his 71st century, his form not being there for a bit, and
Yep.
yeah, it was probably getting to him, and now that he's left all that behind and now he's back, he's back where he belongs, right? He's back down under. That's where he got his first test century. He's traditionally played very well in Australia. He's liked the opposition, he's liked the crowds there. I think it's going to be a big year, big tournament for Virat Kohli. And he's also got friendly faces back in the BCCI, so he'll probably be smashing it. And yeah, I look forward to Kohli smashing it.
I'm sure countless Indian cricket fans will be happy to hear this, because we all know that when Virat Kohli is batting well, what it does to uplift the team as well as the fans. And I think, I mean, 2 months ago we were all wondering, kya hoga? I think we had crossed the stage, I think, where it was about him getting 100. It was just about, can he make a meaningful score? And then the Asia Cup comes around and he gets runs, and we didn't see that level against ऑस्ट्रेलिया, but he was looking good, he looked good against South Africa. तो बहुत मतलब अनगिनत लोग होंगे जो तुम्हारी बात से सहमत होंगे. Let's just come back to the topic at hand. We spoke of impact, we spoke of players who have come out of this tournament with their reputation somewhat enhanced. Let's just go back to Kuldeep, because एक तो मैं उनका फैन तो हूँ ही. um Yesterday, Wasim Jafar said कि इन्हें T20 World Cup squad में होना चाहिए, and it's very unlikely. I get where Wasim Jafar would have made that statement, but it's coming in a phase when he's doing well. It came on the same day he took 4 wickets. But अगर हम थोड़ा इसको objectively देखें, at the time the squad was named, he was not in any great wicket taking form, and the team had already decided कि अक्षर, कुलदीप, अश्विन और फिर रवि बिश्नोई हमारे चार मेन स्पिनर्स हैं. This is why, and also because of Jadeja's injury. But since then, I mean, he's barely put a foot wrong. 5 months ago, I think he took 21, 22 wickets in the IPL. So it's good from an Indian perspective, from a bench bank perspective, from a larger perspective, that ऐसे वाले bowlers वापस फॉर्म में हैं. Do I agree with Jafar that he's unlucky? I don't think so. But it's a very strong statement he's made from a fairly low key series where many people would say, यार इस सीरीज में क्या रखा है? But You've talked about Siraj, you talked about Shardul, and the fact that this guy walks away smiling, giving thumbs up with 6 wickets and an economy of about five. This is another huge positive, even though we're still some time away from an ODI World Cup.
Um, I think if I were Kuldeep, I wouldn't worry too much about missing this, right? I think there's a larger goal for him. There was this time when he broke into the scene. This was when 2016, right? 2016 is when he broke into the scene. He was supposed to be our long-term successor to somebody like a Kumble, right? Yes, he's a left-arm leg spinner because that's the kind of guy, that's the kind of flight he brought in, right? And he bamboozled the opposition in his initial years.
Big time.
Somewhere people found him out and whatever. But if you see, his downfall has been actually in the last couple of years largely, right? Till 2019, Kuldeep and Chahal were snuffing the chase out of
World Cup,
middle overs. Yeah. If I am Kuldeep, I wouldn't be worrying. I would just want to get back into where I was and how important I was to the Indian team, right? If I was Kuldeep, I will think that there's a World Cup coming up at home 1 year from now. The last time that happened, we lifted the cup. There's a strong chance we can do that again. And for India, it's very important that Kuldeep is ready, and he's going for the World Cup 23. Let's keep World T20 aside. We have the replacements. We'll manage. In 23, happening around November, right? Pitches will be slightly, towards the later half of the season. I'm guessing around November, December, right?
Starts in late October, so yeah, you're right.
Late October-ish, right? So because nowadays, we start August onwards, games happen, right? I think considering that Australia, New Zealand, England, all of them have this new age ODI 2.0 style of play, right? You go really big in the middle overs as well, and then you just kill it in the last 10, last 5. It's very important that the team controls these middle overs, and which is where I think Yuzvendra Chahal and Kuldeep Yadav have a big role to play. If they're somewhere able to kind of control the rates around 5.5 fish during those middle overs, it's going to snuff out chases, and it's going to like always give you 10 to 15% lower than what the team ideally would have. This is obviously a conservative side, 10 to 15% lower than what the other team would have been able to, hit. So just focus on 2023, and that's what we want Kuldeep Yadav for.
And right, because I mean, a year from now, Chahal is going to be a year older. Kuldeep has age on his side. We've got young Ravi Bishnoi, who I'm also a big fan of him. So Kuldeep has enough challengers to keep him on his toes. And I think the best thing he could have done was to answer the critics and also let the selectors know that I'm a wicket taking form में हूँ. And he said, yeah, अब मुझे इतना ज़्यादा डर नहीं है. He's just in a very confident space. And I think he's one of those bowlers where if the captain is backing him, it actually turns out to impact his performance. I think under Rohit, definitely in this series, only 3 matches, but Shikhar Dhawan sort of seemed to know when to bowl him, how to best use him, and these wrist spinners, Chinaman bowlers, they sort of need that kind of guidance. Of course, after 3 1 days, he got 2 very helpful tracks. But you rightly mentioned कि इसी एक साल के बाद इन्हीं pitches पे the home World Cup is going to be played. So I'm on the same page. He should just block out what's happened and know कि भाई हम आपके साथ हैं as in the BCI. And if you stay fit and you keep on taking wickets, you're going to be. I think he's going to be a certainty for the next one day
And
World Cup.
and Jamie, if I'm just to add,
Yeah.
you might call me a bit of a traditionalist, but एक 50 ओवर वर्ल्ड कप जो 4 साल में एक बार आते हैं, एटलीस्ट इन टुडेज टाइम, उसका एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट और उसका जो वेटेज है इन हिस्ट्री एंड लेगेसी, अभी भी उसका पल्ला थोड़ा सा भारी है वर्सेस T20 वर्ल्ड कप जो काफी काफी बार ऐसा हुआ है, 2-2 साल में हुआ है, राइट? सो अगर कोई 50 ओवर वर्ल्ड कप में कोई कमाल करता है या कोई इम्पैक्ट छोड़ के जाता है, तो वो हमेशा रहने वाला है वो चीज़, कोई उसको डाइल्यूट नहीं कर पाएगा. एंड आई थिंक दैट विल बी कुलदीप्स शॉट एट रिडेम्पशन.
I'm really glad, Ritwik, that you actually put a bit of emphasis on the significance of an ODI World Cup. क्योंकि मेरे हिसाब से आज, I mean, fair enough. The future of ODIs is being widely debated. Many former players saying कि भाई इसको बंद कर दो. My personal stance has been that bilaterals थोड़े ज़्यादा हो चुके हैं. I think they need context, and you also brought up context, but I think more than a T20 World Cup success, like you rightly pointed out, in a 50 over World Cup, will go a long way because this is what people who play T20 have all grown up watching. T20s were alive and kicking in 2011 when Indian team won under Dhoni, but you could see what it meant to a Sachin, to a Virat, to a Srisant, to a Ashwin, to a Yusuf Pathan, and to a Sachin Tendulkar. And I think those images, which one of the positives of social media is that you get to play these things almost at your fingertip. तो मैं बिल्कुल तुम्हारी बात से सहमत हूं कि one day World Cup has a lot of importance. Keeping that in mind, though, there are a couple players who I want to talk about here. One of them is Shubman Gill. He sort of disappointed me in that he's not really doing much in T20. I think he could serve India a lot in tests and one days if he sorts out a few problems. कीपिंग इन माइंड ऋत्विक के धवन अगले साल 37 से 38 होंगे इसी समय not had a very good series. Where do you see this young man in the stakes when it comes to India's openers? Is he perhaps our third opener, fourth opener?
Um, right now, my opinion about Shubman Gill is of a bit of an indifference.
Okay.
At this stage, मैं एक्चुअली थर्ड ओपनर के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सोचता भी नहीं हूँ. जैसे अगर आप मुझे आज पूछोगे कि ऋत्विक 2023 वर्ल्ड कप में अगर हमें तीन ओपनर लेके जाने हैं तो किसको लेके जाओगे, मैं बोलूंगा तीन लेने जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. We will go with two openers. I will say that, right? I will, and we can have a chat on why Dhawan, but I'll say Rohit and Dhawan at this stage, largely because Dhawan is phenomenal when it comes to ICC tournaments, right? For me, I think the third opener is basically a secondary role that either Ishan Kishan, who can also be the backup keeper, can play, or KL Rahul can play, if he's not playing in the middle order. So that would be my, my third opener ideally. Shubman Gill, purely because उसका career इतना sinusoidal हुआ है ऊपर नीचे मैं convinced नहीं हूँ at this point of time to give a very strong opinion about it. I know he has a lot of fans and people will be hating on you for getting somebody who's saying this on the show, but मैं frankly ऐसा कोई he's not thrown me on the chair. If we are talking about Shubman Gill, then we might as well talk about Prithvi Shaw. Like he's also outside the team, but he's making all the right noises, doing all the right things, but he's probably not getting that platform. So थोड़ा सा maybe time और samples ज़्यादा, and I think we'll be able to take a more definitive call on Shubman.
Fair enough. And you also brought up Ishan Kishan, who again he falls in that same category. He's put talent ki koi shak nahi, but somehow the temperament. But I was very glad to see that until a couple series ago, he was in India's top two run getters for the T20 year. Then of course he lost his place. Shreyas Iyer was number one. He lost his place, but Ishan Kishan had a pretty good series because yes, he took some time to get off the mark in two matches. But when you're able to accelerate on that tricky pitch, in Ranchi, जहाँ पे ball ऊपर नीचे हो रही थी, and then to get so close to 100 in this highly competitive Indian cricket era, where we've talked about on this show about the bench strength, the competitiveness. आपको पता है, चाहे आप शुभमन गिल हो, सैमसन हो या ईशान किशन हो, कि भाई जब बड़े प्लेयर वापस आएंगे तो मैं 11 में छोड़ो मैं शायद स्क्वाड में नहीं रहूंगा. Very important for someone like him to bat the way he did in Ranchi as well as in that first match. रन नहीं आए थे. And you said the keeping. I think he's going to be more important because Rishabh Pant, fantastic in test matches, finding his feet in ODIs, and frankly, pretty dismal in T20Is, right? If his one day form, that is Pant, if his one day form does not keep going upwards, you got Samson, you got Kishan, but क्योंकि Kishan opening कर सकते हैं, तीन पे खेल सकते हैं, it is not unthinkable कि वो पंत से आगे भी फर्स्ट कीपर बने. बिकॉज मैं डीके को मानता नहीं हूं बिकॉज डीके इज नॉट प्लेइंग वन डे, ही इज प्योरली बीन ब्रॉट बैक फॉर अ पर्पस. और जैसे ही ये टूर्नामेंट खत्म हो जाएगा यू नीड टू लॉक इन योर टॉप कीपर. आई थिंक यू आर राइट, दिस गाय कुड बी दैट गाय.
Yeah, I think we are pretty much aligned on this, right? Ishan Kishan, you mentioned all the right points. There's one thing that we missed, right? That he's also a left-hander, and that brings a whole different dynamic to that batting lineup, right? Because आजकल मैचअप्स पे सारा गेम चलता है, राइट? तो अगर वहां से कोई स्ट्रॉन्ग लेग स्पिनर आ जाता है तो यू नीड समबडी हु कैन नेगेट दैट इम्पैक्ट, राइट? सिमिलरली कोई लेफ्ट आर्म ऑर्थोडॉक्स है तो यू नीड दैट समबडी टू नेगेट दैट इम्पैक्ट, एंड दैट्स वेयर Ishan comes in. Also, when I see him vis-a-vis Pant, obviously Pant is an extraordinary player. I personally interviewed him when he was in Dhaka playing the Under-19 World Cup. At that point of time, it's a separate story altogether that, so much of bubbling confidence, energy, and,
Sure.
desire to do well. But somewhere I think Ishan's hitting is absolutely clean. I think the way he's able to maintain balance when he's striking the ball, I think that's what differentiates him a lot with Pant, because at times Pant के उस पे clear कर नहीं पाएगा, पकड़े
Yeah.
जाएगा outfield पे, but when Ishan strikes and he's able to connect, it's out of the park. So that clean hitting, uh, and like you said, he's able to kind of change himself according to the situation, according to the surfaces. I think it gives him a strong advantage. Right now, nobody's talking about Rishabh Pant because obviously he's done a lot of exploits in
Yeah.
Test cricket. He's carrying that aura with him. As far as in the IPL is concerned, also he's had decent years. But yes, maybe one day when people start talking about Rishabh Pant and who's an alternate, I think Ishan Kishan will be right up there.
Well said. Somebody else who's got a bit of an aura around him or has had for a while is this guy who I'm going to bring up on your screens. We mentioned that he was having a very, very good run in white ball cricket before some big players came back from injury, whatever. And then he all of a sudden found himself out of the T20 squad. I'm okay with that. I think he has a bit, it's very hard to break into that top four of Rohit, Rahul, Virat, and Suryakumar Yadav. But one day, this was a very important series, Ritwik, for Shreyas Iyer because people are talking about short ball problems. Okay, he did not play this series in South Africa or Australia, but against a very, very good South African bowling attack, जहाँ पे तीनों मैच में ऊपर नीचे था उस विकेट पे, this guy's played very, very good. He got two fantastic innings. From the wider picture, he's not your bench strength. This guy should be playing a lot more matches. I think he's probably much better off in ODIs. My personal view is that he can bat at number four in ODIs and Surya can bat at five for his range. In T20s, like Pant, अगर श्रेयस अय्यर आपके टॉप फोर में नहीं आते फिर मेरे हिसाब से उनकी जगह नहीं बनती है. That's just the demand of the T20 game. But from someone who's been dropped from both squads recently, who's had people openly question his technique, how do you think, how chuffed would he be from his performance in this series?
I think he will be pleased. But having again seen him, over the past few years, I don't think this is where he wants to settle, right? I think Shreyas Iyer by nature, and I'm not being overly generous with my compliments here. I think he's set up for greatness, right? I see him as an all format player. I see him as a potential captain of the Indian team sometime in the future. That's who Shreyas Iyer is. And again, if you allow me, one interesting anecdote I want to share, and this happened between kind of a legendary Indian spinner who's still playing and a journalist friend who's like, would be your friend as well. And this legendary spinner called him up and said that I was playing a domestic game against Shreyas, and you won't believe it. Nobody has toyed me, not even at international level, the way Shreyas Iyer toyed with my bowling. Like I tried this and he smashed me there. I tried that, he smashed me there. And that's the kind of player that Shreyas Iyer is or is capable of being. So let's again, like I said for Kuldeep, I think there are bigger things that await Shreyas. Short ball is I don't think that big a concern because a lot of Indian greats in the past have also had short ball issues. They've gone on to succeed with those limitations. Um, I think again we hype it up a little too much in the age of social media. We write too much about it, and it starts playing in the player's mind more than it is a problem. And I think he will be happy how he performed, but he's going to be super excited about what awaits him. Um, just to add to that, because you mentioned about his ODI and T20 place, you're spot on about the T20 place. About ODI, he's very important at a number four. Is that in case again we go with Rohit, Dhawan, Kohli top three,
Sure.
and then you put a KL in four, I think we start having four batters of similar mold and pace of play, right? That's where I would want to break that chain and put in, Shreyas at four. If KL has to play, probably five, and then maybe Surya Kumar Yadav comes at six. That's how I see it. So he's very important to kind of transition the Indian batting lineup between the Rohit Dhawan Kohli era into what awaits us, maybe like a Ishan Kishan, KL Rahul, Surya Kumar Yadav, Deepak Hooda era, right? I think that transitionary piece, that's Shreyas Iyer.
I love the anecdote you raised, and I can totally see it happening. And you also use the word this transition because you have a very very solid top three, and I would assume कि अगर शिखर धवन देखो fit तो वो रहेंगे, अगर वो run बनाते गए, I think he would be the opener, which then leaves you wondering where does one bat KL Rahul, and KL Rahul's record at 5 and 6 is actually very very good in the one day format. He can be very dangerous like a Hardik Pandya. Shreyas could as well, but I think Shreyas' skill is what you said, that transitioning from a slightly more solidifying top three into that 5, 6, 7 who can really tee off. You need that, that suitable number four. And the way he's played throughout his career, I think he is the best candidate for that. A lot of comments came while I was listening to you about how good Shreyas Iyer है. किसी ने कहा था कि वो लंबे रेस के घोड़े हैं. बिल्कुल, I agree. His favorite player रजत शिंदे. अब आगे वर्ल्ड कप में देखते हैं. बिल्कुल बिल्कुल. There's a question about something. I think I've scrolled up too far. Absolutely spot on. One more player, because we have both touched upon the importance of Shikhar Dhawan. We have both agreed on live K he is the first choice. But baat ye hai, Ritvik, कि he is going to be 37, so he'll be almost 38 when the next One Day World Cup comes about. You mentioned the Oval, 2019. He got a fantastic 100 there. We saw that 100, but then he got injured, and I don't think he played uske baad. If he stays fit, if he scores runs, he should be the first opener alongside Rohit Sharma. He's Mr. ICC. But if he does not work out, who possibly could take Shikhar Dhawan's place a year from now?
In this situation, right, probably if you want to maintain the left right at the top, Ishan Kishan could be an option. But in case Shikhar Dhawan isn't going, I think it's likely going to be Rohit and KL opening,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that Kohli is slotting in at three. Um, Personally, I would really like Shikhar to have one last shot. He's done all the right things over the last 9 year period, right? He broke into the scene in 2013, won the Champions Trophy. 15, he did reasonably well in Australia. 19, he got the chance that he did. He did well with the chance he got. And he's being a very understated player all these years. Rohit has got the accolades of being hitman.
Yep.
Virat Kohli has got accolades of being Tendulkar's successor. But somewhere, we've forgotten that Shikhar Dhawan has had a very strong role to play earlier in test matches, and then later on in one days. And he's kind of been overlooked because he's been surrounded by two giants, right? I think for whatever he's done, he deserves one last shot, one last World Cup at home, and I think he should get it.
Should get it. I agree. I think he should get it. That was a good note to wrap up this chat on. It's been absolutely a pleasure talking to you about ODIs and D20. We sort of went back and forth, but I think every single point that you brought up is very, very valid. Thank you, Ritik, once again for taking our time to do this. And who knows, we might get you back again sooner than you expect.
Sure, I would love to be back. I think this was fun, and wish you well. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you to all our viewers. A lot of viewers said it's nice to see you on the show. Thank you for joining, all of you, and enjoy the rest of your week. Ritik, once again, thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
See you.